See, as a volunteer for a social work, not every time something would hit you and then you go and try to solve. It's not always a kind of a thing which pinches you that you want to go and do something. There are natural things that would come. Look for opportunities, because volunteering is not an act in my mind. It's a journey. It's like a spiritual journey. You will, even at the end of your spiritual journey, uh, I'm not sure if you would find God. God is like a north star. He keeps you, or he or she keeps you guiding towards a spiritual journey. And then at the end, it's for you to interpret if you had found God or not. Such is the case with volunteering.
Hello everyone and welcome to another podcast of Mitti Ke Rang. Today our speaker is Satya Natarajan. He identifies himself as an environmental foot soldier. He is the core committee member of Swachh Pune Swachh Bharat, an area Sabha association, and is actively involved in more than 60 organizations in Pune. He's also a finalist in I Volunteer Awards. So let's welcome him and get to know more about him. Hello
Yep.
Satya, how are you?
I'm fine, Ekta. How about you?
I'm good too. Thank you so much. So, welcome to Mitti Ke Rang.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to join you.
So, there's so much that I want to discuss with you today. So, let's just dive into the session. Let's begin with could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do exactly?
Yep. My name is Sathya Natarajan. I used to head as a site leader for a customer success and support organization for a multinational corporation in Pune. That was my professional anchoring. And I had a very accommodative family who let me do all the things because I was working in a night shift for 15 years. And they could give me a free hand to sleep or go and follow my passion of community service. And yeah, these are the three anchors, and that's what I have been doing for 15 years. During the course of the time, I had different NGOs and social groups in various light of volunteering efforts. And I've been a core committee member of two organizations that I've been having a relationship for a very long time. One is Swachh Pune Swachh Bharat, which is taking Indian Prime Minister's vision of cleanliness across the nation. And I was a core committee member for the Pune chapter. And the second one is Area Sabha Association of Pune, which is a policy and citizens pressure group to increase the green cover of Pune, which stands at a abysmal number of 1 is to 1.128, as against the minimum that is required is 1 is to 7. So these two are a long relationship, but apart from it, I work with different verticals of volunteering, right from doing things, planning things, executing things, strategizing things, and night school, teaching night school students, dropout youths, conducting food donation drives, and various flavors of volunteering. And I've been recognized as a I Volunteer finalist um, awardee, and that sums up what I've been doing. There's a lot to talk, but from the overarching, what is me is I'm just an environment food soldier and always a volunteer.
Great, Satya. That was really nice brief about yourself. So, you have been part of so many volunteer work, right? So, did you always thought that you have been for the past 15 years? So, was this social work always in your mind?
It's not something that cropped up when I attained certain age or certain time. It's basically, they say that you need to be lucky because things fall in the right place at the right time. For example, in my college days, I was always an NSS volunteer. So right from those days, plus what has been inculcated in the family, like the concept of what we call in India the mentality of seva, and then once you grow up fulfilling your professional and personal needs, then you look at the guiding north star as to what else do you want to do. And then as they say, once you make a decision, the world conspires to make it happen. So once you say, I need to do some service back to the nation or to the country or the community, there are so many opportunities that fall on your lap, and it's a question of like a buffet. What you want to choose, what do you want to eat. It's as simple as that. So there is nothing like a silver bullet or a certain time that kind of brought you in. It's a natural progression.
Okay, great. So you told me about the night school, right? Where you used to teach the college school youth who used to drop out and all these other people. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. So as a professional, as an engineer, whatever looks at you, you look at a student. When you get into the world of finance, you bucket them in different baskets. So a combination of all these things got together, even in the volunteering arena, where I started dissecting and portfolioing each and everything that I kind of do. In the initial stages, I wasn't very, so I broadly classified them, the portfolio, into two basic things, because that was the only thing I could find commonality. One was a weekend work, another was a weekday work. So the night schools are kind of seasonal, in the sense they appear on a certain season during certain exam time, or before they go into an exam or finishing their schools. So it was one of those weekday volunteering engagements, and the dropouts of laborers or youths, they attend a kind of a 20-day program, and they want to kind of catch up on all what the market needs from them, like for example computer skills, basic office application skills, and what it takes to kind of go digital. So that used to be my yearly once an effort. But there were other night school students who used to kind of do for skill gaps. So that also we used to pick and choose a schedule on the days that we are available, because we had the comfort of working around our schedules, because you spend 2 hours before you get into a night shift. Like night shift starts for me, because I was supporting a multinational corporation. It was 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, sorry, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that was pretty easy. So before going into the night shift at exactly 9:30, you start at 6:30, finish off the night schools, and then go into your job, and then continue your job. So there were flexibilities that way, and that we used to do that. And one of the interesting thing about night school students is that some of them come from a vernacular medium, and I belong to a state where I don't have the native language as the one that is used here. So literally, I had to sometime take my kid along, who knows the local language, and whenever she sees her papa trying to kind of explain and he's not able to get across the questions, she comes and says, "Papa, this is what they were asking for," and then I kind of repeat in English, and people were able to kind of translate that into their language and make use of it. So there are times where in volunteering you might not have all the skills, and there are always people who can augment with good intentions.
Nice. Like it's a really great initiative, Satya. Okay, so talking about you talked so much about the youth of our country. So one question that I would like to ask, that today's youth thinks that in social sector we don't have so much money as compared to corporate sector. So what are your views about it?
Yeah, it's a mixed view. There is a part truth to it, and there is a part truth which is waiting to be uncovered. Um, if you typically take social sectors, a lot of fulfillment between what the government can do and what the government can do, and what the individual can do. but what the individuals can do on their own. And that's NGO in a structured group. Non-structured group, there are different social organizations which work on an ad hoc manner to fulfill that gap, be it education, be it poverty eradication, be it inclusive, so many things. So if you typically take, uh, yes, the truth is that you might not have all the money that you want when you go and join an IT company or a white collar job or a high skilled job like an underwater welder or something like that. But there is enough that it could give you an experience to start with, which can catapult you when you have the right job for you. For example, today in most of the companies, people are looking for agility in people who can wear multiple hats, people who can do teamwork, who can be a go-getter. All these experience, even you sit in a company for like 10 years and try to build on it, there is a heavy chance that you might learn faster being in a community service project vis-a-vis a kind of a corporate setup. So it's a trade-off in the organized sector, I mean. So you might want to look at it instead of looking comparing apples and oranges. You look at what is that I could gain as an experience from this that could catapult me in a longer sense. But there is another sector, which is an organized sector, which is impacting community service and doing volunteering and things like that. There are entrepreneurship for social ventures. They almost get equal funding as in case of any other startups, if they could provide a value. One of the friends that I have been in the social sector, if he was an engineer and a designer, he would have gone made some cars or some aeroplanes. He would have had a 9 to 5 job, but he chose to design a cart, which is a very simple cart with 4 wheels in it, which could carry 6 to 10 liters of bucket of water. And he makes that to the social impact projects where taking water from a well to some far off distance like 8 kilometers is made possible. So, and he equally gets fun, and he's a happy guy, and he has more than 50 projects lined up. So it depends upon which area at what time do you want. So there is nothing that that never works out. Just to give you a snapshot, there are 4.5 lakhs of NGO listed in Maharashtra, 1.5 lakhs in just in the area of Pune alone. So there is quite a lot of work that you can choose in the area that you wish to do. It might not give you instant money as a corporate job, but once you get the experience, and it could catapult in a different way. Apart from all, there is something that which is priceless, is the satisfaction of serving the community. I do not know if you can put a number to it, but that's a different topic for another day.
I totally agree with you. Like, since the time I've been a part of Mitti Ke Rang, it's been so satisfying for me. So I totally agree with what you are saying right now.
Yep. Everything is an experience and experiment. So you
Exactly.
learn a lot of mental satisfaction through it. Good.
Yeah. Okay, so you told the story about your friend. Would you like to share another story since you have been working in this sector for the past 15 years, right? So, could you share with us one story that's really close to your heart?
Yeah. More than the stories that are able to be created as a Facebook post. So there is a lot. But I would like to tell a story as to what I learned from it, rather than like a novel story where it's kind of entertaining. While working, I will give you two stories. One is my experience with Swachh Pune Swachh Bharat, which is spearheaded by a wing commander, Punish Sharma. And it's a very free culture where the main core objective is to provide cleanliness in space, paint the walls, and kind of less skill, but more patient driven, right? So on a World Environment Day, we proposed like we clean up a lake near Pune, which is a very historical monument space called as Mastani Talab. It's has a historical significance. So on that day, nobody turned up on the place because it was raining or something like that, or it was a working day. So I just went in, I saw the plastics that are kind of, dropped into that. And I collected 100 kgs of them and put it in my old vehicle, which my papa bought me about 100 kgs up, close to 100 kgs. It's not approximate. So I carried back and then left it to a place where it can be disposed. So only one thing from the government side is that as alone what you can do, right? But that's where the volunteer culture comes. So we have a diktat in our Swachh Pune Swachh Bharat cleanliness social group, which is like, one is an army, two is a team, and three is bonus. Okay, so even if it is one guy, an event has to happen. That's it. You don't wait for anybody. If anybody comes in, that's greater. But that's from an individual volunteer mindset perspective. Second is that I've been working on the sanitary waste disposal around the Pune region, and that has been one of my championing causes. And um, what I have learned is that I have gone and spearheaded the program of Red Dot campaign to do with the disposal of sanitary waste. Basically, what it says is that to help around 600 odd women who is segregating your sanitary waste every day, like 20 tons per day. You can't replace their job for sure because it goes through a segregation and stuff like that. So people can easily give up, like nothing is in my hand, what can I do? It's their job, it's their livelihood. And what we did was that instead of asking for a wet and a dry garbage, we asked wet, dry, and sanitary waste. So we had a lot of impediments in, yeah, just to step back, we were talking about the three different types of waste, which is wet, dry, and sanitary. And it was the most simplest thing we could ask from anybody, considering the dignity of labor aspect, that we are asking their own waste to be kind of handled and then properly handed off. And then during our advocacy sessions, I met a bunch of women, and then we were talking about this Red Dot campaign, how small red dot, a palm-sized red dot, would make a difference to the life of women who are segregating that instead of having to literally open it. And then Pat came the reply from the women, which said that Satya, you're a man, you don't understand the problems of it, and how do you expect me to go and looking for a sketch pen, a red sketch pen or something like that? And instantly, I kind of floated a thought saying that, ma'am, if I could open up your handbag wherever you, or a wallet which you could take, I can see two main things, which is my guess again, is that one might be a mobile, the other one might be a red lipstick. So why don't you use one, the red lipstick, for doing this? You don't need to go and hunt a red sketch pen or a bindi or whatever it is, or a sticker. So that came back the reply, and it was not something that I have kind of made up in my mind. The thing is that when you are exposed for a cause, right, however trivial, however challenging it might be, once you are glued to it, you will automatically uncover skills that you didn't know that it existed in you. So the second one is that when you are getting not you in action, but getting others in action, if there is a will, there will always be a way that you will find out. So these are the two stories that I could relate on a volunteering platform, where one, an individual can make a difference. An individual, if he has the right attitude or a will to make a difference, he will find out a way, irrespective of whatever challenges are there. So that is one. And the third one, which is a dichotomy, which I can talk about it later, depending upon the question. But that might be a very interesting self-humor on myself.
Okay, we
that's for
would.
a later time.
Okay. Okay, we would love to hear that, Satya. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the hottest topic that is there in 2020, the lockdown. So, how did the lockdown impacted you? Could you tell us?
Yeah, frankly speaking, the lockdown couldn't touch me. Um, uh, but it touched my work. So it didn't let down my spirits of doing a volunteering, but definitely as a part of the cleanliness mission, we used to do cleanup drives every weekend, consistently for 5 years, every weekend without a break. But all of a sudden we see a compliance from the government that everybody is given an instruction not to venture out, not to do this do's and don'ts. And whether we like it or not, whether we could underestimate or overestimate the corona effect, we had to comply. And that really put the work in jeopardy, but for good reasons, right? Same way, but it gave a lot of opportunity to brainstorm and innovate. What else can we do in the absence of a physical volunteering? So it not only posed a challenge in terms of our work, but it redefined the way we actually start doing the same work in a different mode. And I had a curfew pass across Pune. Frankly speaking, I had permissions to go anywhere in Pune or PCMC. But I chose to exercise restraint because it's not about doing and making a heroic attempt, but it's also setting up a role model as yourself so that people may not unnecessarily venture out, because always it's not about heroism, it's about collective good. So it didn't affect personally me, but it affected my work for sure. For everything, you had to take permissions, a certain place, a certain time, as a containment zone versus a non-containment zone. Right from our challenges with filling up petrol at the gas stations, and if your bike got stuck, then it's a different. There is no shop. You have to toggle 20 kilometers or 10 kilometers off. And if you run fast, the dogs are on the road. They chase you much faster than what they would do in a crowded environment. So yeah, there are tidbits of funny moments and interesting moments that way. But overall, it did affect our work in terms of what we could do in terms of volunteering. Right?
Okay, it's nice to know that Corona could not deter your spirits. So now, the since the lockdown has ended, it's been almost 2 weeks since that has happened. So could you tell us that what initiatives did you take after the lockdown got over?
Yeah. So there were it's a journey, I would say, since the lockdown happened and we started ideating on what else could we do, what else was a need. So, and you can never keep a volunteer shut. That is one thing you would observe. Once it's like a addiction, I would say, addiction for a good reason. So once you start doing volunteering and you don't do, it somehow feels like you're out of a fish out of water, and you start finding out new water, right, to jump into. So that has been a journey. So we did, as an individual and together with different social groups. I personally was working on 7 or 8 different campaigns. I mean, after that, I stopped counting because it was more of packaging the same thing in different segments. But otherwise, seven to eight campaigns I was running at the same time, and this as an individual, working in the night and in the day, kind of doing all these things. So the first and foremost thing is that we deliberated a lot until a group of two young women came and said, like, we will start supporting people with limited mobility who are senior citizens. And then we said, like, instead of we who have been experienced in this field doing, let's augment the effort of new young ladies coming up to doing and wanting to make a difference. So we joined that group, and it was a highly federated group in each and every pin code of Pune. They started taking up a helpline kind of stuff, and answering calls of senior citizens, and then helping them with medicines, because they had the highest vulnerable population and the highest limited mobility that they would have in a lockdown situation. So we that group was called as a Friends of Senior Citizens group, and it had a long history by now in these 3 months. And they had served more than 3,000 unique senior citizens for their needs of going to hospital, doing checkups, getting their medicines, getting their groceries at their home. And jumped into doing the common things what the group does, and also started doing some dedicated support engineer style of functioning, because I come from a director of customer support. So all those kind of knowledge come into it. And we took three senior citizens home, and then had one engineer or one volunteer kind of exclusively manage them and their needs and stuff like that. So all were based on a WhatsApp group, and that's all the tool that we had. And that was one campaign. And then the campaign moved on to feeding those roadside workers and beggars who doesn't have their any of their employment. I mean, they have been devoid of their basic we might have a lot of deliberation about bad inclusivity, but in real world, all people's job is stuck. Not only people's job, people who used to beg from the people who used to, offer them, were also stuck. And then we had another category of construction laborers whose intermediaries have fled that place, and they are left to the job where there is no job and they are just sitting in a place. And then there are migrant workers who come for a time bound job. And then there are so many segments of them who were helpless. Of course, the government was taking an action to route the rations through the PDS system. We started making some ad hoc cooking, and then taking parts of cooked food, getting to them, those kinds of feed the need kind of a campaign that we did. The third thing is that we segmented the construction laborers, migrant laborers, and then came in which looked very unsustainable, in the sense that every day going and making a logistics out of it was very difficult. So we had to empower them to prepare their own food, which means we started distributing ration kits, doing fundraisings, and then actually giving them, because there was a lot of deliberation saying that even if we give money, where are they going to go and purchase it? Okay, because they have limited mobility and stuff like that. So then came in the next step, which was there were Swiggy, Zomato, and different volunteer organization groups who were spearheading the campaign of preparing this food from the cloud kitchens. So we actually became the food soldiers for them, to identify NGOs in their local localities and help them connect, like the network. So we always say that our net worth is our network. So we actually capitalized on our ability to network people and different NGOs, and we were able to serve 36,000 packets of food to people across Pune and 65,000 people across Maharashtra. And of
That's
course, I
great.
couldn't talk about the India level, which is like 14.93 lakh food packets, because there was somebody like Satya, Vaishali, Samira, and a few other guys who were doing the same thing over there. While we were doing all these things, the emotion of people who are suffering from hunger and from need was across the board. It was not a roadside beggar. It was not a construction laborer. It was not a migrant laborer. Then we had exclusive people from IT companies, right, who says that I don't have a cooking equipment. I was believing that this shop is open, but that is closed, and I'm surviving on noodles for the past 3 days. Can you help me? Then we created an exclusive WhatsApp group for bachelors and spinsters who are coming from other states, or who doesn't have within inside the state equipment to cook and things like that. So we actually decentralized, saying that in this area there is a mom who is already cooking. Can she cook an extra 2 meals for the others? So we wanted to empower the local communities to locally serve them, and we were acting like a conduit to just help and drop things. And then we actually went into the went to fundraisers for specific interest groups like widow women and people who are jobless, like the security guards who cannot go. And then we went on to preparing other groups of transgenders, Adivasis, who are tribal population. So we completely cover the entire spectrum of the needy in whatever terms they have and fulfill these needs. And finally, we also started, over the period of time, we had this learning of 3 or 4 different campaigns in different mode, where we were an environment soldier, then we became a food soldier for other companies, then we actually catered the NGOs to connect with them. And then it was right time that we said, like, now the corporations or CSRs or the companies are kind of taking a back seat. What is that we could do is that we started creating cloud kitchens within a span of like 3 to 4 days. We had to go from every place across Pune, be it a Markers, be it a leftover hostel or a shelter home. And then we said that we start making those cloud kitchens. So we did that. We had 6 cloud kitchens. And then when we were doing, one of the things constantly came to our mind is that we are very feeling great, heroic, heroinic in what we do, but there should be a better way to do, because all the time at the back of the mind, we were having that, hey, are we doing something counterproductive to what governments expects from us? That was a very clear thought. And then we said, okay, what are the existing mechanism that we could make use? So then came the police group. The Pune police actually helped us, saying that, hey, Satya, we will get the logistics out, whether it's food packets or ration kits. We will have our police van, which is going across the places, and we will help you deliver it. And it was more of coordination and getting the raw materials, done quickly. So people like Hope for Children Foundation, Samara, Vaishali, myself, Friends of Senior Citizens Group, in terms of Pune Feed Any campaign, everything kind of worked in their own spheres. And there was a group of Karuna, which also amplified these things to get things done. And finally, then we moved on to establishing helplines, getting volunteers in the comfort of their home, coordinate all these people. And finally, we also had a campaign to send off our migrant laborers. Up to the last moment, getting them health checked, preparing food, getting them tickets and everything. And the last campaign was a Vada Pav campaign. So we wanted to, people who are migrant laborers who are stuck in Maharashtra, were to go back to their hometowns. We felt definitely there's one of the passion that we would also have if we are stuck up, right? So we said, hey, get back to your homes, feel safe. But when you come back, right, this vada pav, which is a kind of a burger of Indian type, should remind you you should come back very soon. So up till that, it was a wide spectrum of things. In between, we also had opportunities to serve kids who are deprived of their education. So we went and kind of gave mobile phones, help CSRs, pick up that last mile connectivity, help them connect over them. So lot many things. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but simply the need of the hour and the mindset with which you work, which are all your net worth, because it's your network is your net worth. How do you connect people? How do you move from one stage to the other stage of volunteering and help achieve the larger purpose? And in the end, if you see through the news media, 90% of the fulfillment of the last mile connectivity has been done by NGOs in terms of rations or any other work. That's a significant effort. People like Vaishali, Samaira, Gauri, almost like, I would say, 90% of the people I have worked with them are women leaders. So everybody, I mean, it had a complete set of people who work together on an altruistic, higher motive. And it showed that even in distressful time, what volunteering as a mindset and action orientedness can help people.
Okay, so that was such an exhaustive list, and I'm so happy that I'm talking to someone who has done so much during lockdown. Like, I simply lost count at I think fourth point, and then I was so happy that this also has been done, and we have done so much for in every sector for migrant laborers, be it widows, even for school-going kids who have been deprived of their education. I'm really glad that I'm talking to you, Satya.
And finally, after the lockdown, we also participated in blood donation camp because blood has become a very essential thing. Because not many people who are earlier blood volunteers, blood donors, as we would call it, they couldn't come because of restrictions. So even the basic B positive, which is a huge availability of blood, we're running on shortage. And we heard of many people who are devoid of those blood, and from some few ad hoc cases also came into us. So we actually started doing blood donation camps also following it, so that there is no challenge around it, because these are lifesavers, right? Um, uh, a hungry man versus a person who doesn't have blood are two different cases. So that also post the lockdown, we kind of did that, immediately swung into actions. And of course, the regular PPE kits and sanitizers and things like that. Those were like for the corona warriors, health workers, kept on parallelly.
Okay, great. That's really, really nice that so many initiatives you have been taking and like helping the society. Okay, so let me bring you back to the story that you were telling, the third story. When I asked you that, would you like to share some story from your end? So could you please tell us about that?
Yep. So when you are in a volunteering space, since this subject is more about volunteering, I'm reflect upon the stories which relate to volunteers. So I'll take a pause. I call it as a dichotomy story, right? Dichotomy story is a natural phenomenon which comes to every volunteer while going through a social impact or a community project. Because when you're doing something which is a cause driven one, there will be always different set of stakeholders who will have different perception their apprehensions. So there is like, you just can't go with a fixed and say, I'm here to change this world and I want to do it this way. So you will, even with the most good intentions, you will utterly fall on your face sometimes. So this lesson right here is I did research about I used to just kind of jump out and say, hey, how do we save this tree and trees and things like that. So there was a moment of truth when I interacted with the previous activists who are tree activists and who are botanists, who are pioneers in their own field around the green cover, frankly speaking. And after speaking to all of them, I saw there are various people for the issue, for the cause of trees, they have lost their lives, their sons, they have literally lost their sons, lost their peacefulness, going through court cases, still picking up bravery to kind of fight for those cases. And there were biologists who had different views about what kind of plantation monoculture versus native trees, and then so many diverse view. And finally, I took a cautious notion that even if I can't save even one tree in this world, okay, as a volunteer, I will never turn to activism. Not because I can't do, because I said, like, I say this golden principle. I'm not sure if only time can tell me whether this is the right view or not. Is that if I were to lose 10 of my friends or 10 trees, I would act when the destruction is imminent, I would lose 10 trees instead of 10 friends, because it's those 10 friends who will help me rebuild a forest when it is a better time, right? So with that view, I just jumped in. and I'm always known for dealing with tricky situations. So every time when there is a tricky situation, people enjoy the fun of that tricky situation, no doubt about it, because even activists need some kind of a peace at some point in time. So they always used to see and look at me and say, Satya, what is your take in this situation? So this is a group of and protection, and I spearheaded the Urban Tree Act of 1975. So there was a point in time where we came into a specific historical spot. This is a university spot in the Andhra Road, okay? And there were many trees that were going to be cut and things like that. And we lost few, and we took a kind of a burial of the tree and things like that, to show our anger and things like that. But at that point in time, the reason that was said was, we are cutting these trees because you guys asked for a cycle track. So people on the ground, before even kind of commenting on it, because definitely there were different groups in that way who are only tree lovers, only who are cycle lovers. They felt cycling is a better way to kind of avoid pollution, and trees can be kept on, replanting and things like that. So they were actually looking at me and saying that, Satya, now we will see what's your take on this story. I was a part of the cycle plan group, which was trying to advocate cycling, and I was a part of the tree group trying to save the tree group. So I was like, kind of, I was kind of saying, like, what can be the workaround? And people were all looking at me and saying, making fun of me. They were all smiling at me. I didn't know what was that, and they said, like, I was asking, what is the fun all about? Satya, more than we fighting or the other group fighting, we want to know what is your frame of mind right now. You should be thoroughly confused. We want to enjoy how you are. So I was like, as a volunteer, what I was trying to impress upon is that you will get into positions where it might be a question of whether you want your left eye or your right eye, right? The famous dialogue goes like that. So you would be put into situations where you can't have an absolute clarity of thought as to what you want to choose. Okay, because there are various stakeholders, and you need to take it one by one as to what is the thing you would like to sacrifice for what. Okay, so that's a very phenomenal volunteering experience, which never you would get it in life unless you have golden occasions like this, which will shape up your thought process. And the second time was where a tree was cut for making a metro through a non-notified sanctuary, right? Where you are caught up in between reducing pollution through metro, okay, and providing good situations, right? So where I had to complain to the mayor, I had to face him face across the table, and I had to discuss with him, how important are trees. And he openly says, Satya, I'm the one who is giving a permission to cut a tree, 1,000 trees every 45 days. And then I say, like, yes, sir, that is very unfortunate, but in the police station, and we very well know that the other guy is not going to harm you. The other guy knows that you are going to not harm them. But we are level of dealing with issues on an objective basis rather than on a personal basis. We very well know that that is something you can do in a common, one and basis. That is something because hierarchies, there are thought process. But in the community service or community impact programs, you need to work with the people who oppose you. Same thing holds good on the other side, where there is government or governance, whatever it is, they have to work with citizens. So it's a kind of a you need to find that
Collaboration.
sweet spot and have mutual respect at a personal level. You still need to maintain the respect for each other, but on an objective manner, on the issue base, you still need to hold your ground. So those are very many great stories that if I find time after 60 of my age, I can keep on writing my stories then. But at a community level project, what can relate to what people are going through.
That were really interesting stories, Satya. Thank you for sharing with us. So we're towards the end of our session. I would like to ask you: is there any message that you would like to share with people who want to venture into social work?
Yeah, definitely. See, as a volunteer for a social work, not every time something would hit you and then you go and try to solve. It's not always a kind of a thing which pinches you that you want to go and do something. There are natural things that would come. Look for opportunities, because volunteering is not an act in my mind. It's a journey. It's like a spiritual journey. You will, even at the end of your spiritual journey, uh, I'm not sure if you would find God. God is like a North Star. He keeps you, or he or she keeps you guiding towards a spiritual journey. And then at the end, it's for you to interpret if you had found God or not. Such is the case with volunteering. Volunteering is not a final act, it's a journey. It will put you through different guiding North Stars. And when you reach a certain level of maturity, you will enjoy the journey of what you had gone through, what kind of lives have been impacted, and what is your self learning from that, meeting interesting people, interesting situations. So always look at like a volunteering as a spiritual journey, to find God in people and issues that you solve. If you are a believer in God, if you are not a believer in God, still it's a great journey, like a train journey where you would see many things, get inspired, have lasting memories, and it teaches you many things. So irrespective of whatever, whether it's a spiritual or a non-spiritual journey, it's a journey which will help you discover what you are good at, what you can be good at, and it will be fulfilling for most of the reasons, as I would promise. Start early the journey, because a person like me, would search. I mean, I came through a different generation where I had to find a job, get educated, find a job, get settled, and then do it. But I was little smart, because once I started taking a job, I said, like, if my sleeping, pattern is going to be changed because I'm in night shift for the next 50 years, what else would I do? Right? So I got early onto that journey. But for you guys, you have an ability to start early, because there are so much of opportunities. Make use of this generation, what it gives you, and you might find your life more fulfilling than what I would have enjoyed in this limited 15 years. So find your own journey, make it your lasting memory, and of course take selfies. I mean, I'm begging to tell you this. Not much people would accept it. Take selfies, record your work somewhere, be it a blog, be it Facebook, be it somewhere, because when you look at it, that is the only appreciation that your life would see. Don't shy away from doing it. Take advice from me, from a very old person like me. I mean, take that advice alone. Take selfies, enjoy your journey, put it in your reflecting board. It has a lot to teach.
Thank you, Satya, for those beautiful words. Okay, so could you tell the audience that how should we connect to you?
Yes, I go on my Facebook page by the name SAXS. That's the only way. Otherwise, you can take my phone number. I think it's going to be etched in history as my identity, which is 98230 10 753. I repeat again, 98230 10 753. This is my WhatsApp number, and I will be able to give you 984 our SLA, which means I have contacts. One, that's my contact, and we can always connect on that.
We'll be putting the phone number as well as the Facebook link along with this video so that people don't have any difficulty in finding you.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks a lot for this opportunity again. It's a good time reflecting on my journey. And thanks again to Mitti Ke Rang for all this, opportunity to reach a wider set of volunteers, and hope many would join, and they would also give me some tasks to do. I'm happy to work with millennials, particularly because they have a different, wavelength of doing things, and I would like to keep it learning from them. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Satya, for your time and for all your valuable inputs. It was really a pleasure talking to you and for everything that you told us about your social work and everything. It was really nice talking to you.
Thanks, Ekta. It was a pleasure.
Okay, Satya, we are towards the end of our session. So take care and